Hi, and welcome to the next tutorial from Forest Creek Railway. Today we're going to be making our trees. Now I've tried armature trees, wire armature trees, very time consuming, twisting your wire, covering them, and then putting your foliage on. So I took a leaf out of Luke Torren's book from Boulder Creek Railway and basically now just make his quick trees. So I'm in my local bushland today, come out for a drive. And when I'm driving along, I try to find these sorts of dead bushes here. I find that they make some really interesting and good trees. So tools that we'll need for today, just a couple of containers to put our tree armatures in, and I just have a small pair of pliers which I use to cut and trim up the armatures to what I want. So I walk over here and have a look. Now I just have a look at the branch structure that there is, find a nice thick piece for a trunk, and then just trim him off. Sorry, I'm trying to do this one-handed here. So I trim him off like that, and then grab him out and have a look. So there's a bit of a V there, so I'll keep that and I'll trim him off. He's not going to be overly detailed, this one. He's only going to have a couple of branches. So I just trim him off in a couple of spots, and voila, very basic tree armature. I'll put him in my container, and then we just keep going back and looking at the branch structure and finding some decent thicknesses and some interesting shapes and branches. So this one, it'll have a little bit more to it. So I'll just trim him up a bit. So I'll just grab him, trim off the bits that I don't want, leaving some of the longer ones. Make some nice foliage to stick on it. Trim him up a bit, and there you go. He's a bigger tree, and he'll be quite interesting once all the foliage gets on. You can go back and trim them up again when if you're not happy with the way the branches are and where they stick out. But you know, 30 seconds, finding a bush, trimming it off and cutting them to shapes, and there you go. You get your armatures ready for your foliage. No painting, no mucking around. So I'll leave this one here for now, and I'll come back once I've got a few armatures ready to show you. Okay, so I've been at it now for about 10-15 minutes, and as you can see, I've got quite a few unique and different armatures. Like in nature, some trees are big, some are small, fat, skinny, tall, lots of branches. That one there, for example, is going to make a very interesting one on the layout. Some are, very little branches. And after 10 minutes work, I've got probably enough to make between 40 and 50 trees. So just go out, find a bush, a scrub, some dead branches off trees, cut them up, trim them. Try to trim them so that your leaf clusters or your foliage clusters end in some realistic places. You'll end up cutting some off so much that you'll look at it and go, well, there's not much left, chuck it away, don't worry about it. Others you'll leave, with a whole heap on, like I have with this one here. The foliage is going to stick to each of these little bits and make a really interesting, bushy, luscious tree. Some others, not so much, a bit more sparse for foliage, not too many points for it to stick to, but they'll still make very good, realistic trees. And even getting some for, like this one for example, even if I don't put any foliage on it, I can still put it on the layout as a dead tree. It's got the branches and everything that stick out, or the leaves simulate that they've all fallen off, and you've just got a dead tree in amongst all of your live ones. Because as you look around, not every single tree out here has a lot of leaves. Some of them have very little leaves, and if you're trying to replicate or simulate a realistic bush setting, then you need to cater for all different types of trees. So that's why I decided to come out and actually foliage through. I've left quite a fair bit on this one here. I ended up coming over here and taking some off of this one. As you can see, you can keep going all day and get hundreds and hundreds of armatures just from one bush. It's not that difficult at all. Just cut them off, make it so you've got a decent trunk, and just keep trimming it until you're happy with it. So yeah, I got quite a few off that one, some off that one over there, and then I just came down and took some smaller ones off this one here. So it's as simple as that. Tree armatures, very simple. No twisting of wire, no using putty, or no more gaps or any mess and fuss to make your branches and your trunks. No waiting time for drying, painting. It's all natural. It looks real because it is real, and all you have to do is go back and add your foliage. So I'll do that next. We'll go back home. I'll take all of these armatures that I've now collected, and I'll show you how I go about putting on my foliage. Again, very similar to everyone else's that's out there. It's not a difficult thing to do. Anyone can do it. Just take the time, go for a walk, see what you come across, and yeah, the only way to really replicate nature is to use things out of nature. So it's all very easy, very simple, very quick, and you know, saves yourself a lot of money. You know, you're not buying a pack of 4 trees off eBay for $40, or Chinese trees that just don't look very realistic on your layout. Yes, they are a little bit more fragile. You just got to take a little bit more care when you're putting them on your layout and when you're moving around on your layout. If you don't have a lot of thick, dense areas of bushland, then it's not so much of a worry if you've got the odd tree here and there. If a bit breaks off after you put them on, so be it. Doesn't really matter. It just looks like a broken branch off the tree, and then you can take that branch and glue it back in somewhere as a small shrub. So I've done that a couple of times. I've got one area on the layout as we come around to Big Hill, where there's going to be a very heavy, densely bushland area. So that's what I'm collecting today for, so that I can go back, make a whole lot more trees and plant them all in the layout. So like I said, when we get back, I'll show you my technique for putting on the foliage. Again, like I said, very similar to everyone else's, nothing hard about it. And then we'll show you the next step and we'll go from there. So I'll see you soon. Okay, so we're back at home now. We have our armatures. So what I've done is put together a mix of some bushes. So I've got the medium green from Woodland Scenics bushes, and the olive green bushes from Woodland Scenics again. I find that the olive green is one of the best colours for simulating Australian gum trees. So all I do is I take some out of the pack and I just break it up and put it in an old container. Just a bit of clump foliage all sitting in there, all mixed up with some green and the olive green all together. I decided I'd get that really involved armature that we picked out. So this is the one that has, you know, all of the branches and everything left on it. So we'll give that one a go, and we'll see. I'll show you how they turn out. Now the only other things that you're going to need is some spray adhesive, contact adhesive, and I just buy some cheap Sika spray adhesive from Bunnings that lasts quite a while. And then the last thing, once your clump foliage and everything is glued down onto your armature, you may find over time that the clumps will start to fall off. Not all of them will, but some of them may. Now, to avoid that happening, the best thing that I've found is hairspray. Just any hairspray will do, and once you've glued all of your foliage onto your armature, give it a coat of hairspray and you have very little to no foliage fall off on you. Alright, so the first step is we grab our spray adhesive and give it a shake. Now, best to do this outside because you don't want to be spraying this stuff inside. We grab our armature, our spray adhesive, and about 30 centimeters away, all we're going to do is pulse the can and just get some glue on all of those tips where we want the foliage to stick. So very simple. You'll see it start to turn white once it's got the glue on it. Give it a decent liberal coating, like so. We grab our container with our clump foliage in it, and we just dip all of those ends into the container, and they'll stick onto all the bits that we have glue on. So this is just after the first coat. And you can see, give it a bit of a tap, let the loose foliage fall back into the container. And just after the first coat, you can see we've already got a pretty decent looking gum tree. But what I'm going to do is I want this one to have a little bit more on it. So I'll go back with my spray adhesive and give it another spray on all the foliage that's already on there. And just repeat the process. Grab the container, dip it in. So what that'll do is just stick more of the clump foliage onto the stuff that's already there, and we'll make it a bit thicker. It doesn't matter if you don't get some everywhere. We're not trying to make a deciduous tree, we're making a gum tree here, and this is turning out to be quite an awesome looking big gum tree with plenty of foliage. Now if you do get bits stuck on the trunk where you don't want them, use a pair of tweezers or your fingers, pick them off, just put them back in your container. You can see that not all of the branches have leaves on them, which is fine. Not all gum trees have leaves on every single branch. Now you couldn't go back and repeat the process, spray it again, dip it again into your foliage. I'm happy with the way this looks. I think we have a pretty awesome looking gum tree, and it's quick and simple. It's as easy as it is going out, getting your armatures, coming back, doing some spray adhesive, dipping it into a container of foliage, and that's it. So that last step that I was telling you about, what we'll do now is we'll grab a hairspray, give it a shake, and just give it a liberal coating. And some bits will continue to fall off, which is fine. They're just the loose bits that didn't stick to anything. Turned upside down, give it a shake, and there you have it. One gum tree ready for the layout. Once it all dries, I normally leave them overnight, 24 hours, and then I go and just stick them in. So I hope this helps, gives you, an understanding and a good idea of how you can go about making some cheap, very realistic looking gum trees for your layout, or whatever other types of trees that you want to model. But yeah, very simple. Sticks, bit of clump foliage, bit of spray adhesive, bit of hairspray. So once again, from me and the Forest Creek Model Railway, thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe, take away any of these ideas that you want to use on your layout, and I'll see you on the next tutorial. So thanks for watching.